Hey, it's the second time today we're coming at you with some free agents that the Twins signed that you probably forgot about. We're into the early target field era. Let's get locked on, Twins.
You are Locked On Twins, your daily Minnesota Twins podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello, and welcome back to Locked On Twins. I'm your host, Brandon Warren. You can unfollow me on the tweets at Brandon_WARNE. Make your way over to Blue Sky at warren.bsky.social. I'm joined by Mr. Dave Brown at Answer Dave Brown on the tweets at answerdave.bsky.social on the skeets. Is it at? I don't have an at next to your name on the screen. I better make sure I put that on there if it's supposed to.
It's there. It's at Answer Dave Brown. Oh,
the second at.
Yeah.
I'll talk to the graphics department, which is just me.
Does the top of my head know? Wouldn't it be an at?
I don't know. Probably.
Well, if you look up Answer Dave Brown on Blue Sky, it's very possible that you'll find my account, which has like 3 tweets in it. Yeah, I know that's not the word for it, but that's what I'm using.
Well, it's like Sharpies. All markers are Sharpies. So thanks for making Locked On. Well, okay, all tape is Scotch tape. I don't know. Anyway, thanks for making Locked On Twins your first listen every day. We're free and available wherever you get your podcasts. And, of course, on YouTube, if you're watching this on the premiere, we appreciate that greatly. Give us a thumbs up, give us a high five, give us a subscribe, and leave a comment in the comment section. We'd love to hear from you.
If any of you know how to find the college football playoff on a Google TV, well, I probably will have found it or given up by the time you get this message, so never mind.
Yeah, you're sending a message in a bottle. Anyway, thanks for making Locked On Twins your first listen every day. We're part of the Locked On Podcast Network, which is your team every day. Again, if you leave us a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts or wherever you get your podcasts, send me proof of it along with proof that you subscribe to the show on YouTube. Or if Locked On Twins was in your year-end top 5 on Spotify Wrapped, send it to me. I will send you a care package of baseball cards, kind of a random selection that I have on my desk here. Some good ones, some fun ones, and it's a free gift. So again, send me proof of that on the socials, whether it's Blue Sky, Twitter, doesn't matter. I'd love to hear from you. By the way, this episode is brought to you by FanDuel. You can start the season with a big return on FanDuel. New customers can place a $5 bet, and you'll get started with $150 in bonus bets if you win your first $5 bet. Visit FanDuel.com to get started. So we are knee deep in the. We're almost 10 episodes into this. We're almost 10 episodes into this series of Twins free agent signings you've forgotten about. We're into the 2010 and 2011 era/area, and it's remarkable how quickly 2010 to 2011 went from boom to doom. I guess I stole that from the Costco guys, but Twins brought the boom in 2010, brought the doom for about the rest of the next decade. I don't know. But with that said, some fun signings here early in the target field era. And again, like I said, we're almost up to 10 episodes. We're still about 14 years back. I hope everybody's enjoying listening to these because I'm having fun recording them. Dave, I hope you are as well.
I am having a blast.
So, Twins on April 6th, 2010, signed a 4th outfielder extraordinaire, capable of playing each of the 3 outfield positions, which he did with the Twins. His age 29 season was 2010, and then he was back for a while in 2011. Jason Repko. And Jason Repko had a very Darren Mastriani-esque 228, 324, 346 slash in 2010. He was worth just a hair under 1 win above replacement on Baseball Reference. And in general, if you can get a guy with an 85 OPS plus who plays all over the outfield, you'll probably take that. But if you want proof for why the Twins were as bad as they were in 2011, Repko had a 226, 270, 286 slash, a 54 OPS plus, and got 144 plate appearances, appeared in 67 games. If you need any more proof that 2011 was a tough one, it was that he was pretty stretched playing as often as he was.
Jason Repko, Dodgers great, of course.
Yes.
Broke in 05, hit 8 homers in 129 games, which is not a lot. Career 71 OPS plus, and with the Twins, he actually had maybe his best season in 2010, and that's an 85 OPS plus, so that's not great. He was able to steal 3 bases and 3 home runs. So Repko, this is sort of like having people in the lineup like him is kind of like what I see the White Sox doing right now. Maybe a step up with Mike Tauchman in the outfield, but definitely they're signing people that have been around, not necessarily any good, to play positions that perhaps young people should be playing. When the Twins were bad here early in the aughts, or late in the aughts and in the tens, it reminds me of what the White Sox are doing right now, and that's not a fun memory.
No, as someone who covered every home game in 2013 and watched way too much Cleat Sanity that year. It's pretty rough. So Jason Repko, we hardly knew ye, and in fact, I think he was nudged out of that role eventually by Darren Mastriani. So with that said, we're going to move on to a utility infielder who turned 47 today. We're recording on Saturday. He is 47, 8.1 career Baseball Reference WAR. Debuted September 15th, 1999 against the Blue Jays, and was represented by one of my favorite baseball names, Agent Bean Stringfellow. Have you ever met Bean Stringfellow?
I don't think I have, but I certainly remember that name fondly from off seasons past.
That's like the perfect name for Chris Sale, like someone who's 6'7" and 115 pounds.
Hey, what's up, Bean Stringfellow?
Yeah, right. Like it's. Anyhow, this guy signed on June 21st, 2010. His big league career was over in 2007. So again, just taking a shot on a utility guy. Was once traded for Jay Witasic. Was once traded for Humberto Quintero, and once traded for someone named Scott Dunn. Do you have any idea who I'm talking about?
I mean, you've given me some great clues, but I don't.
D'Angelo Jimenez.
Oh,
and
D'Angelo Jimenez.
Right.
I love him.
He was out of the big leagues by age 29, but overall career numbers, 263, 351, 377, 291 walks to 391 strikeouts, had a couple of years with double-digit home runs. It's a shame that his best offensive years came in Cincinnati in 2003, 2004, kind of the tail end of the offensive boom, because that year D'Angelo Jimenez hit 270, 364, 394 for a 99 OPS plus. Now that's a 3.6 Baseball Reference WAR player. That's a nice year for the Fighting Jeff Cars. That's a pretty nice player that kind of fizzled out quickly. Kind of reminds me of like a Felipe Lopez or something.
Yeah. He was a guy in the White Sox too, and he wasn't bad with the White Sox. He had some decent, but a guy that I think wasn't that good defensively. He had a little pop, like you said. He had some good. He had 14 home runs one season, 12 another with the Reds, and he was a guy that they needed to replace with basically Tadahito Iguchi, the White Sox, to improve their. It was post Ray Durham, I think, and so they've gone from Ray Durham to him, and then they brought in Iguchi, who was kind of one of those good puzzle pieces for the 2005 team that won the World Series. So he's a guy that you had and was kind of a placeholder type guy, but wasn't a terrible, at least offensive second baseman sometimes.
Was Durham a poor defender? I don't remember.
I think he was okay. He was very athletic, so he could get to a lot of balls, but he was more of a hitting second baseman than he was a a fielding second baseman. So, yeah. I'm trying to think here. Yeah, he was. That's how I recall Ray.
Jimenez, by the way, pitched on June 30th, 2002 at Dave Kaufman Stadium, in a 13-1 loss through an inning and a third scoreless, which means that he was probably the team's best pitcher on the day. I want to go over some of these names. Some guy named Jake Peavy started that game.
Oh, I've heard of him, yeah.
Yeah, gave up 4 earned in 3 innings, 7 hits, followed by Jason Middlebrook, who I have no recollection of, Rodney Myers, which pretty sure it's not the Rod Myers of early 2000s.
There were a couple of Rodney Myers, yeah.
Yeah, this is the Rod Myers of the Cubs and then Padres, not the Rod Myers. And then Jeremy Fikach, I think that's how you'd say that. And then Jimenez faced 4 batters through 9 pitches, 5 strikes, 4 made contact, 1 looking strike, no earned runs, no hits, no errors, no runners left on base. And actually, maybe there was a runner left on. I don't know that. But not a bad little.
Who was this against?
The Royals. Jeff Suppan, Jason Grimsley, and Corey Bailey pitched that day.
Bailey saved the lives of every man on that transport. That's a lie.
Just because I love remembering some guys. The starting lineup for the Padres that day was Ramon Vasquez, Mark Kotze, who was replaced by Bubba Trammell, Ryan Klesko, who was replaced by Jimenez, Ron Ganton left, Mark Sweeney, Davey Cruz, Julius Matos, I don't remember him, Tom Lampkin at catcher, and then Gene Kingsale was in the outfield. I remember most of those guys. Now with the Royals, Luis Alicea, Aaron Guile, Carlos Beltran, Mike Sweeney, who was replaced late by Brandon Berger.
Both 2 Sweeneys in this game.
Yeah, right.
Facing off.
Joe Randa, Raul Ibanez in one of his Royals tenures, Michael Tucker, who was crazy fast, Nefi Perez, who was replaced by Mike Caruso. Caruso was a White Sox legend, wasn't he?
Yeah, he was. Mike Caruso. He was. He had a pretty good rookie season. They brought him up at like 21, way too early, and he sort of overachieved, but he couldn't really hack the position, and he couldn't really hack at the plate either. So.
Did you go in and look at the list and you're stealing from the next guy on my list?
What do you mean?
Okay, well, you'll find out in a second. The other guy in the lineup batting 9th, current Detroit Tigers manager, AJ Hinch, went 1 for 4. Anyway, let's take our first break. And then when we come back, you'll see what exactly I'm talking about with Dave stealing my thunder going in segment 2. All right, well, we'll see about that, okay? We'll be right back. Did Rocket Money help you find any subscriptions you forgot about or that you were paying for twice? Because that definitely happened to me. I had a few subscriptions I didn't even realize I was still paying for, and Rocket Money made it so easy to track them all down. It's like having a personal assistant for your finances. Rocket Money is a personal finance app that helps find and cancel your unwanted subscriptions, monitors your spending, and helps you lower your bills so you can grow your savings. It brings everything together in one place, whether it's subscriptions, your spending habits, or even the goals you want to hit this year or in the new year. We're coming up on some resolutions, but Rocket Money has over 5 million users and has saved a total of $500 million in canceled subscriptions, saving members up to $740 a year using all of the app's premium features. So if it's a streaming service, if you're paying for music, it's to find things that you didn't even know you were still doing. You got that radio out in the car, all that fun stuff. If you're still paying for it and you don't want to be, Rocket Money will find them and they'll help cancel them for you. And they'll also help you just renegotiate cheaper rates too. Highly, highly recommended. For me, though, that subscription tracker was huge. Plus, with their goals feature, I was able to automatically set aside money for my future. No more stressing about budgeting every month. Cancel your unwanted subscriptions and reach your financial goals faster with Rocket Money. Go to rocketmoney.com/lockedon today. That's rocketmoney.com/lockedon. rocketmoney.com/lockedon. The World Series, the Super Bowl, the Olympics, the world's top athletes get to play in these top-level sporting events thanks to one thing, teamwork. And teamwork can also protect your financial legacy and your family's future. SelectQuote's licensed insurance agents are the perfect teammates when shopping for customized, affordable life insurance. They can find you the right policy to keep your financial legacy safely in your family's end zone. I know I want to keep my family's finances all in line. I have 2 younger children. I have a home that I own. I have vehicles. I want to make sure that that's all taken care of. And that's where SelectQuote comes into play, because it's one of America's leading insurance brokers with nearly 40 years of experience helping over 2 million customers find over $700 billion in coverage since 1985. Get the right life insurance for you for less at SelectQuote.com/lockedon. Go to SelectQuote.com/lockedon today to get started. That's SelectQuote.com/lockedon. All right, we're back, and you want to know why you were stealing my thunder? Because
how was I stealing your thunder?
Well, I put not Kevin Poulsen on the screen. That's a hacker joke. Eric Hacker signed with the Twins on November 9th, 2010. You said hack, and I'm like, wow, he's I feel like he went and looked at the doc to see who was up next.
I wouldn't dare.
Yeah. Kevin Poulsen, by the way, if you're an Unsolved Mysteries fan, like I am, was one of the first hackers. He got into some stuff in California, like late 80s, like IBM, that kind of stuff. And actually
going way back in the modem.
Yeah. As part of his sentence, I believe he helped create a database that helped them find internet criminals. And so he's now a productive member of society, which
I hope to be that myself someday.
Yeah, maybe. So Eric Hacker was signed by the Twins on November 9th, awfully early in the offseason. So minor league deal, I think. Maybe it was a major league deal. But anyway, he pitched in the major leagues with the Twins, also before with the Pirates, after with the Giants. Only made 2 appearances, 5 1/3 innings, 2 strikeouts, 4 walks. Not a ton I remember about him. I want to say, though, that one of the games he pitched in, it snowed. And so there was a kind of a memory or an image of snow. And it adds up in the sense that he pitched on April 19th and the 27th. Boy, that 27th game did not go well. Worked in relief 3 1/3 innings, walked 4. And that was it for him with the Twins. I want to say he pitched in snow, and the Twins got stomped in both those games. So we're all like, oh, cool, it's snowing. Let's not pay attention to the fact that the Twins are awful. And it was the beginning of a 99-loss season. But that's pretty much my recollection of Eric Hacker.
It is possible that your memory is right. His games in 2011 came in April 19th at Baltimore, and then at home on April 27th.
Dave, I just said that.
Okay.
It's all good. No, right though. Yeah, I should see if I can find footage of it, because you asked me what grade my daughter's in. I'll say I think second. You asked me about Eric Hacker in 2011, and it's like encyclopedic knowledge. I don't know what that says about me, but it's not great.
Do you think he had any hacking skills like your hacker guy from the 80s?
No.
I think he was asked about that constantly. Hey, you break into any banks lately?
Well, he probably had good bow staff skills like Napoleon Dynamite. That 2011 team was absolutely fascinating. And so, like, one of the guys on the list, actually the next guy on the list, Phil Dumatre.
I remember Phil Dumatre.
First round pick, another lefty actually. First round pick of the Red Sox, probably, 10 years before that, 2000. And the one thing I remember from Dumatre, he was super duper nice. And he always seemed to be hanging out in the clubhouse, like after games, just kind of taking it all in.
Right.
And he had a decent
time as a major leaguer.
Yeah, I feel like that was his last year as a major leaguer. I wonder if he was just kind of like, you know what, if this is it, I'm going to, kind of drink this in. 3.92 ERA, 5.71 FIP. That was such a year where, in fact, in September, they brought up like 1 million rookies to give them a chance, back when you still could do that in September. And so Phil Dumatre sticking on the team for much of the season, I think, was a pretty good indicator. And then voluntarily retired on May 29th, 12 from the Twins. So I think the fact that he retired was maybe that was the indicator that he knew it wasn't going to be long for him, and that's why he was kind of taking in the sights and sounds of a big league clubhouse.
Jeff Manship, one of my favorite randos, transaction randos, was on that team too.
Jefferson
and
Manship.
Anthony Slamma. That's a terrible name for a pitcher, just because of the possibility of giving up a Slamma. But he didn't.
Slamma.
He didn't, because he didn't give up any runs in 2011. Michael Kadire didn't either. He pitched an inning.
Yeah, that was the year that Joe Nathan came back from Tommy John, and it wasn't great. And then he dipped. Kadire dipped. I want to say Jason Kubel dipped after that year.
And when they dipped, I dipped.
Well, yeah, when you dip, they dip. I dip. With Dumatre, yeah, did a decent lefty first round pedigree, not first grade pedigree, but that was just kind of a fun era.
What's baseball?
It was a fun era if you want to do remembering some guys, aka not Gaetti style, but not great baseball to watch. I'll be honest with you.
Liam Hendricks with 4 starts is like, oh, they got this guy in from Australia, huh? All the way for this.
Yeah. He used to walk around in the clubhouse wearing a shirt that said, "With great beard comes great responsibility." And I know I've said that on the show before, but I do think
an axiom.
I think it bears repeating.
Rene Tosani was on that team. That's an Italian Olympian, I believe.
He played for like the Sioux Falls Trappers not long after that in the American Association or Northwoods League, whatever it was called, where the Saints were playing at the time. And in like 2012, 13 maybe, I saw him come through and play against the Saints when they were not affiliated. I was there for a bachelor party of a friend. And so it was kind of like, I recognize that guy.
Was that a concussion year for Morneau? Because 69 games,
well,
4 home runs.
2010 was the year he got the concussion. 2011 was he was recovering from it and was not very good.
Right.
In fact, the one thing he said was that the concussion had messed up some of his feeling. And so he had a nerve it was either his middle or ring finger on one of his hands that was numb.
Right.
And what the doctors had told him, like a neurologist said, that the feeling would grow back about an inch a month. So he was still probably about a year away from having full feeling in that finger. And to me, that's just bananas that doctors can know that.
That must have been bananas that doctors can know that. And that must have been so frightening, because you're probably sitting there thinking, no matter what the doctor says, that there's a possibility that this might not happen.
Yep.
That sounds like something that might not happen. Even if the doctors have experience with this and know about concussions and what they can do and how long it takes to come back and all that, you don't know until you're back that you're back and you're going to be back. I can't imagine being, I've had like 1 or 2 concussions in my life, but I can't imagine being in that world where you're depending on your physical abilities and you can't feel. It's just, it sounds scary as heck.
Yeah, no question about it. And the concussion the year before, when he slid into John McDonald of the Blue Jays, he was just having an incredible season, like leaps and bounds better than his 06 MVP, which, statistical analysis that's happened since then does not look as fondly upon. Let's take our final break here. And then when we come back, a couple of stragglers from that 2011 team, 2 that I had a lot of meme-worthy fun with back then. But again, we will take that break and be right back. Are you rocking with FanDuel yet? Because if you're not, now is the perfect time, because you can get ready to tackle the NFL action with FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. Because right now, new customers can bet $5 and get $150 in bonus bets if that $5 bet hits. The FanDuel Sportsbook app gives you everything you need to place live bets on the NFL all in one place. So when you get a hunch in the middle of a game, you can check out the latest stats, view live play-by-play, and so much more on the same page where you place your bets. Visit FanDuel.com to join today. Check out that FanDuel app. Again, you'll get started with $150 in bonus bets if you win your first $5 bet. That's FanDuel.com. Never waste a hunch and make every moment more with FanDuel, an official sportsbook partner of the NFL. Okay, so we are back, and with the final 2 slots, we went 1 extra because honestly, not that these guys are inextricably paired, but two guys who I had some meme-worthy fun with. In December, the Twins signed Chuck James. Now, Chuck James, if you had heard of him to that point, had come up with the Braves. I think he'd been kind of like a decent starter up-down guy, lefty. But now this was in my era of like really wanting the Twins to get more relievers who could strike people out. And it was the era where the Twins would have guys who struck out like 6.5 per 9, back when like 7.5 was average. And it would be lower than that from relievers, which was just, it was so immensely frustrating. So that's why I gravitated so much toward like Anthony Slamma and Rob Delaney and guys like that. And in this instance, in this case, that guy was Chuck James. And I had instituted the hashtag free Chuck James movement. And it was because Mr. Chuck James had 2.30 ERA in 62 2/3 innings, 9.6 strikeouts per 9, 3.9 walks per 9, 1.21 whip. To me, that was just like, oh, he'll come up and strike out a bunch of people. Now, lefties with iffy command can strike out a lot of people in AAA. It does not quite work that way in the big leagues.
Chuck James, it almost sounds like a made-up person. Chuck is a pretty funny name for. Remember Chuck Long, the quarterback of Iowa and the Lions one time. Chuck's a good name for someone who throws.
Chuck looks like a Chuck too. Like he's got the I don't know what you'd call his little patch of beard fur down here.
Kind of a thing.
Yeah, like a goatee. He looks like a Chuck that went to Chattahoochee Valley Community College.
Right. Well, somebody has to, but
for it to exist, right?
That guy could really chuck it, like that.
There have been a few players from there. Former big leaguers, Tim Hudson, who I'm sure you have heard of, 57.9 career WAR, so certainly hope so. And then a catcher named Randy Hunt, who did not sign either of the times he was drafted by the Tigers or Yankees, but did get into 35 big league games. So it's not as though Chattahoochee Valley Community College, the old CVCC in Phoenix City, Alabama, it's not as though that did not have a redemptive value in the major leagues. They had some guys who made it.
55 starts for Chuck James with the Braves. That's more than it's about 54 more than I remember him getting.
2006. So he went 11-4. Again, 2006 was kind of when I was coming of age, learning like statistics, what did and didn't matter. So I'm like, oh, sub 4 ERA, which, coming off the steroid era, still kind of conditioned that a sub 4 ERA was decent. Just under 7 strikeouts per 9, but a FIP of 5.14. So again, a lot more sizzle than there was actual stake for him. And then the next year made 30 starts, which is crazy.
That's basically making every turn except for 2.
Yeah.
In the rotation. Yeah. So
I don't think the Braves were very good in 2006 and 2007, if I recall. Since I have the internet, I'll just look it up.
They did have a period where they actually didn't make the playoffs. It was crazy.
79 and 83, 84 and 78 under Bobby Cox.
Well, that's not bad.
Which is one of my favorite names to spoonerize.
Cobby Box?
Yep, Cobby Box. It just sounds funny. Their farm director is Tyrone Brooks. Isn't he? He works in the MLBPA, I think, now. That name comes to mind as someone who at one point or another followed me on Twitter.
Chuck James.
Chuck James definitely did not follow me. In fact, I asked him if he was aware that the movement existed, and he chuckled and said, no, I was not. And that was kind of the end of that conversation.
He chuckled.
Yeah.
He himself.
Yeah, yeah. But anyway, let's move on to the last one, because I became an Arrested Development fan not long after this. And Steve Holm was a catcher that played for the Twins briefly in 2011. I'm looking to see if it was more than that, because it was pretty unremarkable. Yeah, his career ended in 2011. Just kind of a very ambiguous looking white dude with a goatee, 6 foot, 205 pounds. I mean, literally the epitome of average. And
ginger?
2 for 17. He got into 6 games. Career 59 games, 84 OPS plus, but pretty unremarkable. But we would do when we would tweet about him, it would be Steve Ohm in all caps, and then it would be the / and the backward / on opposite sides of either the number 0 or the capital letter O, like that. And it was, not a lot of opportunities to talk about a guy who only played 6 games. But again, this was 2011, and it was not a very fun year to be adjacent to the Twins.
Right. Well, I don't know. It wasn't that. I don't know if I would call what happened this year fun either. It was something. I mean, it wasn't bad. It wasn't.
Oh, some of the most miserable Twins years are just painfully average. 2018, one of the worst Twins years I can remember, and they won 78 games.
Yeah. When nothing happens, basically, and you don't expect it to.
It's horrible. They were expected to be decent because they'd signed Lance Lynn and Logan Morris. I think that was the Marwin Gonzalez year too. And they just existed. They simply existed. And it was painful.
Nice acquisitions, Falvey.
Yeah, right. And Lance Lynn had the shortest post-game press conference availability at his locker that I could remember. It was at Wrigley Field. It was like 200 degrees that day. And I think we timed it at like 34 seconds.
Yeah, you got to be ready with Lance Lynn, because if he's not, he can be effusive and charming in his own way.
Yeah, he got taken out of that game for not covering first base.
Oh, and he's not going to want to talk about that, Brandon. Come on.
No, he didn't want to talk about anything. So, and honestly, I think we had a protest as the media too, because we're just like, we're sick of this guy.
I can see that. I can see Dan Hayes wasn't there, I don't think, but was he?
Yes, he
was.
2019. Let's see. It was a road trip, and it was we were, because Dan was staying at his place because he lives in Chicago. He still has a place in Chicago, and then it was Mike Berardino, me, Lavelle. Who would have been probably Rhett Bollinger was probably on his last year on the beat, and it was like 900 degrees. And I remember Lavelle watching the game from the lunchroom, and Mike Berardino wrapping a towel around his neck, and he was just pouring sweat off him because it was like a heat index of like 104.
Wrigley Field's very difficult, especially for visitors to cover. It's not. I'm not trying to have like a sympathy day for the media, but it's there's some ballparks that are better than others as far as getting around and comfortability. And then to have a Lance Lynn post game to look forward to.
Inavailability, unavailability.
It's just, I mean, even when things are going okay, you kind of, well, how's he going to be today? So, you've got to come ready with questions or just be prepared to get nothing, and then you won't be disappointed.
Yeah, that was a weird series for me because I covered 2 games there and then 1 game in Milwaukee. I drove up the highway there and then came home for 4th of July. I only covered 1 game in Milwaukee, but the Twins had like an outfield of Williams Astudillo, Logan Morrison, and someone else because the heat was just knocking guys out left and right. Mike Berardino and I got a beer across the street afterward. And then I got lost. I met Kerry Musket, a very well-known writer from around that area.
One of my mentors for Cubs.com and before that, AP Stringer.
Very pleasant, but not super interested in talking to me, which I understood. Talked to Chris Jimenez, who I had done a video series with the year before. I got to tell Albert Almora Jr. that I had seen him play when he was on the U18 team. He thought that was pretty cool. But my favorite story, and it's so funny because I got lost in Wrigley Field, which seems like it shouldn't really be possible. It's a lot more basic than you'd think, having never been there. But I couldn't find the visiting clubhouse.
Yeah.
And
they don't want you to. That's the point.
Well, it's like a catwalk, and then it's like you go down you go down a tunnel, then it's a tunnel, and then a catwalk, and then you're into this like this broom closet where they have 26 or 25 at the time, I think, players shoehorned in there. And actually, I got shooed out of there for listening to a conversation about the World Cup, because I think the World Cup was going on then. And either Logan Morrison or someone else complained about me listening in on the conversation. It was hilarious. It's like, I'm not a proxy for your guys' struggles this year. You just need to chill out. But we'll end the show on this. I'm asking all these concession workers where I need to go, which is a big mistake. But when you're that early to the park, you don't really know there's nobody really there to tell you where to go. You got to kind of figure it out on your own. And so concession workers by definition are either volunteers or they work on that side of the ballpark. There's no fraternization whatsoever. You're not hanging out with, Jason Hayward at the time or anything like that.
Right.
So anyhow, 3-4 people direct me to an elevator. I go downstairs and I'm standing out front of the clubhouse, and you're thinking, whoa, wait a second, where did this guy go? And I'm outside the door, and there's a guard like there is at Target Field. I start chatting him up, and I said, hey, I'm just trying to get into the clubhouse. And he goes, what? I'm like, well, it's media availability, whatever. And he just looks at me kind of funny. And all of a sudden I look to my right, and Randy Rosario, who had pitched for the Twins the year before, maybe 2 years before, walked up, and I just greeted him. And then he's like, dude, this is the players' entrance. And I got sent to the players' entrance of the clubhouse.
Right.
And so I was behind enemy lines and didn't even realize it. And, with that said, it was, then I had to go back and find where I was going, and it was a crazy day.
Well, it was a good idea of you to scout it out ahead of time, because it is very Byzantine.
Yeah.
There's actually the best way to find the clubhouse is through the field, through the dugout.
Yes.
Which you found out later.
Well, and you can't do that at Target Field, so that's why I wouldn't have tried it. You cannot go that way because it's hands off to media, because it's the batting cages and they're kind of sanctuary over there. But I got to go back there one time and interview Tom Bernansky, so that was kind of cool. Anyway, that's it. That's a wrap. Thanks for hanging out with us. We'll catch you on the flippity flop. Happy holidays to all of you. He's Dave Brown. I'm Brandon Warren saying thank you so much, and we'll see you
tomorrow night.
Yeah, tomorrow night, I guess. That's it.